In this lesson, we're going to create an automobile from an image that we've downloaded from the internet. First thing we'll do is open up our wheel that we made. And let's go ahead and get into the drafting and annotation view. And you can do that above the ribbon or down below. And you'll notice that the ribbon will change. And we want to make sure we're in our right view. So let's go to the view and we'll fill the screen. It's also a good way to, if things are too small or too large, you can also just do that. So we'll go ahead and type in layer, and we're going to add some new layers. It's very important that we add layers here because we're going to have different components of the car. So we'll do glass first, and I'll go ahead for the color. You can pick a green or a blue. It really doesn't matter because we can change that later. And then we'll go ahead and type in a new layer for the car. And then let's do a final one, which will be the photograph that we download. And I'll go ahead and type in side view. All right, and I'd like to make that my current layer here, side view. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll go ahead on to a search engine, and I'll use Google here, and I'm going to look for a side view of an automobile. Now, it's important that the car that we select is pretty linear, so it's not real curved from the side just for this application here. So I'm going to go to images, and it's important that when we select a photograph that we actually go to the image and not just a little screenshot. So here's the image. It's decent resolution. I'll go ahead and save the picture and I'll put it in a folder. You want to put this photograph in the same folder where your Autocad file is. Otherwise, when you quit and open it up, the photograph won't be there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this photograph into Autocad. So I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so I've got some space here, and I'm going to try to replicate this vehicle around the wheel that we have already built, and that's how I'm going to scale this. So I'll just go simply drag it in there, and if you look at the text below, it's asking me my scale factor, and I can scale this by dragging it and then which angle I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the wheel intact, but I'm going to move the photograph by typing move and pressing enter, and let's go ahead and select at the center of the wheel and put that right on top of the wheel that we created. Now obviously here the car's a little big, so what I'll do is I'll type in scale and then I'll press enter, and it's going to ask us what to scale, and I'll select the photograph and I'll press enter, and then it wants to know the point, and let's use the point of the center of the wheel. And since the photograph's a little big, I'm going to go ahead and scale this 0.8. If my image was too small, I might scale it 1.2. You can always figure this out by looking at the dimensions of the vehicle and working that way. But this is a pretty good way to do it, depending if your wheel is what you want. So I've got that side view. I can lock it. I can turn this off. Make sure it's on its own layer. And then what we'll do is we'll move to a new layer, which is going to be the car. And that's going to be my current layer. Right? So whatever's been checked is going to be the layer. So we're going to try here to use the drawing tools to outline this vehicle. So let's go ahead to the home, and we're going to look for the line and make sure we've got the layer here, and that's the car. And I'm going to just make this in red. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes you want a contrast. It all depends. All right, there's a line tool. So usually you have some straight lines at the bottom of the vehicle. Go ahead and select that. Now go ahead and this arc tool is very handy here, and I'm using the 3 points. So I select the first point, the middle point, and this wheel is not completely, this wheel well is not completely round, so I'm going to do this in segments. And the snap, snap is already selected here, so it's snapping. It's very important that you have no gaps in these lines. It's one fluid line going throughout the entire car. Otherwise, this won't work. All right, so I'm going to go through this, doing this exact procedure. Now it's really important that you do watch this next step here after I get this bottom of this built. And by the way, this is typically how you would also dimension curves like this, is in each segment here. So it doesn't have to be perfect for this exercise, but I do want to get what's in the inside line here. So typically the car tends to grow and the radius gets bigger to the center of the car than on the outside of the car. So I want to do the side that's closest to us here, not the center of the car. We'll actually be making that in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Again, I'm just using the arc tool and the line tool through this whole process, and everything has to join. So you should be doing this on a car that you've selected. And again, we're doing it on the side, the outside of the car, not on the middle of the car. Now, it's important that when you do this, that the segments that you're doing, for example, this wing or this tail is its own piece, and then the hood will also be its own piece, and this has a little curve here, very slight, but I don't want you to do the hood and the window as one piece. Each piece should be somewhat separated. All right, so this is a big window here, so I'm going to make this one big piece. I'm not going to take it onto the roof. It's going to stop where the window would stop, because this is going to be glass, and I want to take that as its own material in a little bit. Now the roof, however, it's going to require more than one arc, but we want to snap it, and I'll probably do this in two here. Again, I don't want to be on the outside. I want to be I don't want to be in the middle. I want to be on the outside curve here. All right. So for this demonstration, I don't want to go crazy though. I don't want to have hundreds of little lines, because it's going to make my job very difficult. And now I have the window. Now if you were making a real car, you would do the door separately, you would do the quarter panel, you would do the hood, but for this exercise we're just doing a generalization just for a quick car. Alright, that was the window. Now I'm going to do the little area behind the hood where the wipers are situated. Alright, I'm going to try to do this hood in as few pieces as I can. Again, I don't want to be at the center of this car. Alright, and you just have to trial and error here. Alright, that's pretty close. And if you need to refer back to a Google image of your car, or you have it in your garage, whatever you got to do. Alright. So let's do this front bumper. And again, I don't want to have too many pieces. Less is more in this case. You know, I'm probably a little too far to the middle of the vehicle at this point, but I'm just going to go ahead for this demonstration and stay with it. Okay, and then I'll use a line here at the bottom, and then I'll follow the same procedure essentially that I did on the back wheel. Alright, so make sure that everything is connected. Now it's amazing how this radius is actually part of a circle here. It's pretty darn close. So I unlike the rear wheel well, I'm doing this in 3 segments, but that's okay. All right, and I'm going to close this off. So it's really important it's closed off and everything is snapped. Now, if they're not, this will not work, and it's very tedious. So you want to go back through and make sure everything's snapping together, and it all has to be on the same layer and plane. Okay, so what we'll do now is let's take a look at it. Now, obviously the wheel's there and it looks a little distorted, but we get the idea here. So that wheel's sticking out of the car. Let's go to the right view here, and you've completed the lesson.